Hey guys, I'm Max from Achievement Hunter, and this is Great Levels in Gaming. Today we're looking at Tomb Raider, the 2013 reboot, not the original game from 1996. Probably my favorite part of this game is its optional tombs, which are these short puzzles that reward you with salvage, experience, and treasure maps that lead to the game's collectibles. I think these rewards line up really nicely with Lara's character, since Lara the survivor values the salvage and experience for upgrading her weapons and buying abilities, and Lara the archaeologist values the treasure maps for the information they provide. My favorite of the game's tombs is the second one you can encounter, named the Hall of Ascension. I want to start with the visual design behind the tomb, because I really like it as an example of effective signposting. This is something I think Tomb Raider does pretty well in general, and you can see examples of it wherever the game uses white, often in the form of rope, cloth, or paint, to highlight important objects in the environment. The Hall of Ascension is no different, and I think it's pretty clever how it uses both lighting and white paint to help you piece together what to do. After crossing the bridge that spans the windy chasm leading to the tomb, you're immediately presented with a crank that raises a platform in the center of the room. I rhymed. That's not my usual thing. Anyway, it's the first thing in front of you as you enter the room, and it's pretty hard to miss between the button prompt to use it and the shaft of light shining directly down on it. If you're anything like me, you'll use this crank immediately out of curiosity, raising the platform and probably centering your focus on it. As you raise it up, the two bright lanterns in the back of the room are a stark contrast to the otherwise dark backdrop, so it's pretty easy to spot the doorway between them, which is where you'll need to go. And since your focus will probably still be on the platform, your eye will likely follow it when it's blown across the room, leading your eye to the easy-to-notice white paint on the walls. You can see that the combination of paint and lighting here highlight the path to the doorway you're trying to reach. Finally, as you look left to find what's letting in the wind, the lamps just below the windows make it pretty easy to find the room's second crank, which briefly closes the shutters to the windows so you can get onto the lift before it blows away. This room is one of my favorite examples of effective signposting because the lamps, white paint, and light shafts make it easy to pick out the relevant pieces of the puzzle without being obtrusive. In fact, if you raise the lift right when you enter like I did, it pretty much leads your eye over almost everything you need to know to get started. Rather than waste your time making you separate the useful bits from the parts that are purely decorations, the visual design helps you learn what to do almost immediately, letting you move on to figure out how to do it. Speaking of not wasting your time, I love how quick this puzzle is. Not quick in the sense that it's easy or short, but in that it doesn't make you wait between attempts. The trick to the puzzle is nailing the timing between the window shutters and the central lift, so you'll probably fail a few times while you figure out the timing. What I love is that the puzzle's fail state, when the shutters are open and the lift has fallen, also means that both cranks can be used again, meaning you can start up again right away on another attempt. Waiting isn't always a bad thing. For example, waiting on the lift for the shutters to open builds tension since you're not sure if they'll open before the lift drops back down, but a delay between attempts wouldn't really do anything useful, and after a few failures, it had become frustratingly clear how much your time is being wasted. Crystal Dynamics was smart to avoid this, and the result is a puzzle that lets you dive back in right away if you don't quite nail it. The main thing I want to talk about, what made me want to make this video in the first place, is how this tomb encourages and rewards playing in a way that's consistent with Lara's character. I really like when a game promotes playing in a way that's consistent with the player character's personality and characteristics, and we can see a bunch of examples of game mechanics that do this. For example, the Devil May Cry series uses its grading system to encourage you to change up your attacks in combos, resulting in gameplay that's just as stylish as Dante or any of its other badass playable characters. The Uncharted series promotes hunting down treasure just like Nathan Drake, the Treasure Hunter, by letting you unlock bonuses like game modifiers and character skins as you find more artifacts. And in my more recent experience, I love that Bloodborne rewards playing as aggressively as the other bloodthirsty hunters you fight by letting you recover some health if you strike back quickly after taking damage. So, returning to Tomb Raider, I like to think of there being two core aspects of Lara Croft's character, the survivor and the archaeologist. I mentioned this briefly at the beginning of the video, and I feel like as a survivor she's centered on resourcefulness and the drive to protect her friends and fight back against the cultists on the island, while as an archaeologist she's characterized by academic curiosity and the need to explore and learn. I like to think that you display that same curiosity when you explore the game's tombs, since they're completely optional. You're not exploring them because you need to, but because you want to, just like Lara would. In return, the tombs reward you with things that would be valued by both the survivor and academic aspects of Lara's personality, salvage, experience, and treasure maps. What makes the Hall of Ascension stand out is that it takes this idea one step further through the mechanic you need to understand in order to complete it. Most of the game's optional tombs either center on simple physics puzzles, which don't require a special understanding of unique game mechanics, or on mechanics that have already been established, like in the case of the Tomb of the Unworthy, which features the flammable sacks you see in the game's first moments. Completing the Hall of Ascension, on the other hand, requires an understanding and application of the area's high winds, a mechanic that doesn't show up in the story until after the tomb becomes available. This means you have the opportunity to learn how the high winds can affect the environment from this tomb rather than later on by progressing through the story, and that's really interesting to me. To me, choosing to explore the tomb as soon as possible is consistent with Lara's characteristic curiosity to a much greater degree than if you decide to wait until later. As such, it feels like playing in a way that's more strongly in line with Lara's identity as an archaeologist. In return, you gain an understanding of the wind mechanic in addition to the normal rewards, the salvage experience and treasure map. Lara places a high value on knowledge and learning, so this bonus reward makes sense since it's the result of playing consistently with her identity as an academic. This was the experience I had on my first playthrough, and when the wind mechanic showed up later in the game, I realized that the game had basically pulled a Mr. Miyagi on me. There was this moment of, I know this, that was really satisfying since it was the result of my own actions and choices. I love that the optional nature of the tombs encourages you to channel Lara's motivations as an archaeologist and rewards you if you do. Even more, despite Tomb Raider being a pretty linear game, the Hall of Ascension actually manages to change up the experience for the most curious players by giving an additional bonus in the form of knowledge, a reward that's valuable to the part of Lara's character that shares that curiosity. The tangible rewards from the tomb, the salvage, experience, and treasure map, mean that the players who choose to complete it later are still rewarded, but I think it's really cool that its placement in the game at large means that players who show the initiative to tackle it right away get this additional benefit. To me, this difference elevates the Hall of Ascension above the game's other tombs and cements it as a great example of how to do a side quest right. I guess you could say it was a high priority for me to cover in this series, and I look forward to hearing about your experiences with it. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this look at Tomb Raider and that you'll join me again next time when we take a look at another great level in gaming. See you in February. Cheers.